So, for today's adventure, I'm doing some research at the New York Public Library, and I'm using this as an opportunity to go in and investigate different kinds of multicultural folk literature and fractured fairy tales that I can use for workshops that I'm doing with teachers to connect these stories with STEM and STEAM experiences. So, let's take a closer look at how I pick some of the books. You can certainly do a Google search, but I find that it really helps to go into the library and spend some time looking at what's there. So, one of the things you're going to want to look for is, are these books culturally relevant? And we're going to look a little bit more deeply at that. So, one of the first things I look for is who's telling the story. Are they part of the culture that they are portraying? Do they have the research behind them to be able to tell the story? So, for example, both of these stories are written by Joseph Bruchark, and he's a noted Native American storyteller. He has spent a lot of time working within the community, and what he's portraying is coming from his own experience and from the experience of the elders. I feel comfortable using these books. In addition to looking at the cultural experience of the author, I'm also looking for background. What are the sources they use to find the story and to tell this story? Is there a glossary? Are there notes? Are there things that are going to help you know that what they're saying is accurate? Another thing I'm going to consider as I'm looking at a story and whether I want to share it in an early childhood setting is I'm going to look at the illustrations. Are they stereotypical, or do they represent various depictions of a culture? Who did the illustrations? What's their background? How much research did they put into these portrayals? And in addition to all of the criteria that we've talked about, the final piece I'm going to look at is this a good story that's going to keep an early childhood audience interested? Does it have vibrant characters? Does it have a plot that moves? Is this going to be something that the kids are going to connect with and want to help tell stories along with me? I'm also looking for connections. How am I going to build connections, whether it's to other texts or to STEM and STEAM experiences? Grandma and the Great Gourd is a wonderful story out of India. And what I love about this is, as I'm reading this particular book, I can imagine all kinds of cool ways to connect it to something like The Three Billy Goats Gruff, in that it follows a very similar storytelling pattern. And I can then use that in having the kids learn to tell their own stories, as well as coming up with STEM and STEAM challenges for them. How Many Donkeys, which is an Arabic counting tale, offers a really fun story that's going to engage early childhood kids. It has familiar themes presented in a slightly unfamiliar way, and there's a lot of good humor in it as well. Thank you for joining me on my visit to the New York Public Library today. I highly recommend socialjusticebooks.org. They have a wonderful list of criteria to consider as you are looking at using multicultural children's books in the classroom, and I think that it makes a great resource as you're considering what books to bring into your classroom. Happy reading.